Yeah. Yeah, hello, my people. My name is Chinedu Anichi, your one and only celebrity CSO, and this is Chinedu Anichi TV, aka Otobon Soka. Today is Saturday, and you know today is talk show with Chinedu Anichi on Otobon Soka, Soka Banye, Eji na Ekleturunu. So today, what we do in this studio today is selecting, nominating, fishing out, bringing out very, very best resourceful people in soccer for global recognition. We try to market what we have. There's something that I was told when I met a big man in this US. I don't want to mention his name for security reasons. He told me that a lot of people have talked about Africans. A lot of people have talked about Asians have spoken about Africans. Europeans have spoken, Americans have talked about Africans. That it is time for Africans to talk about their own talk. That each time people talk about you, it can never go well without prejudice. The time has come for Africans to talk their own talk. So I brought it down to soccer people. A lot of people have talked about soccer people. A lot of people have discussed soccer people. But it is time for soccer people to talk about soccer people. We want to talk our talk. And how do we do it? We try and fish out very resourceful people that God has given to us as a blessing to us. And today, the Lord falls on one of our big brothers. This our big brother is our uncle, our daddy. His name is Professor Osita Ogbu Oon. OON is a national award, not an abbreviation. Professor Osita Ogbu OON. So today we have him in the studio, and today he will be speaking of mindset and success, mindset and wealth creating. So it is going to be a mind-blowing event, and I want you to listen. Those of you watching on Instagram, those of you watching on YouTube, those who are watching on Facebook, and all that, please be active and engaging. For we have a very resourceful person here today, and let me run down a bit, but I want him to come up. He is already here in the studio. Let me bring him to the studio, and I am privileged, most respectfully, to invite in this studio Professor Osita Ogbu.
Thank you.
Prof,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, my people, we will have Professor Osita Ogbu on the show. Before we start speaking, I want to say one or two things about Professor Osita Ogbu. The much I know, Professor Osita Ogbu is the former economic advisor to ex-president Olusegun Obasanjo. He was at that time, he was the chairman, National Planning Commission, a position that's currently occupied by a minister. He was also the immediate past director, Institute of Development Studies, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. As I'm talking to you now, he is the Chief Executive Officer of African Development Solution, a non-governmental and research-based organization. There are other things you can add, but this is the much I know. When I went to the website, there are very many other things they say, but because I can't articulate it very well, I would like him to talk about it, like his position in the World Bank in America before Obasanjo saw him and appointed him as economic advisor. So this is Professor Osita Ogbu in Chinedu Anichi TV. Nsukka. Prof, you're welcome, sir.
Deji, thank you very much, Chinedu. Thank you.
Yeah, Prof, I would like you to introduce yourself to our viewers.
Chinedu, the introduction itself is also this lecture in a way.
All right.
Because my journey is a journey of a certain mindset.
Correct.
Yeah, and we are discussing mindset. If I speak about my experience, which is what I do with young people, then it will also illustrate that mindset we want to discuss. You know, a few days ago, I was searching through my old files and I saw pictures of my graduation from University of Nigeria. And I sent it to a classmate, and that picture, a group photograph, went viral. Because this was 45 years ago. They were wondering how I kept that picture. I don't know whether Chinedu is still there. Hello, Chinedu.
I'm still there, but I'm behind you. I just highlighted you, sir.
I am there, but I just want to know that you are there and the audience.
Yeah, I'm here. It is one of the features of the.
Okay,
if you are talking, I can highlight you.
Okay. Good. So
I am there, sir.
Just to say that it was 45 years ago that I left the university. You know, many people do not also know that there was a time there was no JAMB. We didn't take JAMB. We had only 6 universities. I was one of those privileged to go to university when you took entrance to the individual universities. And I must say that God was on my side, was privileged. I had a certain mindset for success because when I was in secondary school, I would often say, I will go from secondary school to the university, and people were like, look at this one. What is he talking about? Because it was very rare. It's not, it's common now to see somebody finish secondary school and enter university immediately. It was extremely rare in 1975 when I entered the university. As a matter of fact, people used to come to the hostel and say, what is this small boy doing here? Because I entered the university before I was 18 and graduated in 1979 when I was not, when I was 21, I wasn't even 22. So very rare. We went to school with very old people. But it was still that mindset that drove me. I had a dream. I worked on that dream. I wasn't discouraged. When I said, because usually people will finish secondary school, go to TTC, teacher training college, do A level, do some work. I didn't. I finished in June, and in September, I was in the university. And it was a creation of my thinking. I had this thought and I worked on that thought. So part of mindset is also to dream and have a big dream that you work on, and don't be discouraged by what people say. I wasn't the smartest by any means, but I had this dream, and I even went to university before those who were smarter than me. So as a way of introduction, I got one of what you may consider one of the best jobs, and I hope the young ones are listening to me. This is a sales manager position at Liver Brothers at that time, Liver Brothers Nigeria. And when I tell this story, it's also going to force me to do my biography because these things need to be written down and the lessons derived from. This getting into Liver Brothers was a huge process. Stages of interviews, you didn't not have to know anybody, not, no phone calls. Of course, there were no phones in the 70s as such. So, and they came to the university to interview us, what they call preliminary interview. By the way, there was a form that we filled. I don't know what may have said in that form that made them shortlist about maybe 30 of us out of all the 100 or so that filled the application form, preliminary application form. And then they came to the university to interview those of us that they shortlisted, you know. But prior to that shortlisting, I told myself that this was competition. This is not something that you can get by being so nice. You have to compete. You have to show that you're different. Part of mindset. Success is derived by when you can separate yourself from the crowd. So here I was, one of the youngest in the university, but I had prepared for the preliminary interview to the extent that after they gave us the lecture the evening before the interview, I was the singular person that raised my hand to give a vote of thanks, and yet nobody nominated me. Believe it or not, I'm sure you know that they will make note of that. Nobody nominated me, and I gave a vote of thanks on behalf of 30 of us. So I was already showing leadership. That's what it means. Mindset. I wanted to be noticed. I wanted them to know that this person is different. So that's how, after the preliminary interview, I found myself in what they call the group interview. Now I have to go to Lagos. And we did this from youth service. So again, in the group interview, you have to distinguish yourself. Now they were bringing people from, by the way, from the 30, I think maybe 10 of us made it to the group interview. At the group interview, you will now meet people from Ahmadu Bello University, University of Ibadan, all over, University of Ife. You are now brought together in a group to interact, to show differences. And in that interaction, again, I was conscious. This is competition. Mindset. Because when you finish the group interview, you come in and you do one-on-one with them, and they will be reminding you what you did or did not do in the group. And I was very good in the group because I was aware that I needed to distinguish myself from the crowd. To cut the story short, I was recruited into Liver Brothers. And you can imagine in 1980, I was barely 23 years old. And I was a manager. After 6 months of training, I had a car and a driver that will drive me to Nsukka, where my parents were living in Ovoko. And I will be carrying Omo, all sorts of Liver Brothers products that I've been storing because I was single, but I was a manager. And every month I would get the management pack. And so everybody felt I had the best job. And guess what? I was restless. In 1982 December, I had done the job basically 2 years or 2.5 years, and I resigned. That I was going to the US, not sponsored, not with scholarship, but as a private student. At that time, Chinedu, it was unheard of for an Nsukka person. In fact, they thought I was foolish, extremely, even almost being stupid. They went to my parents and said, this guy is mad. Nobody is sending him to America. He's going on his own. He has this fantastic job, and he's resigning it to go to fish for the unknown. I mean, luckily I had a father too who had traveled within Nigeria. He spent some time in Ibadan, so he wasn't fazed by it. But in any case, I had already resigned before telling my parents. So really, nobody could stop me. And I had saved some small money. Again, dreams are matched by action. It's not just dreaming. I had made plans in such a way that I didn't settle properly, even though I was a manager. So I was saving money. And I had not up to a year's school fees, but I had enough money to convince the embassy to give me a visa. It was very tough that time getting a visa. But I did. And left for the US in January 1983. leaving a secure employment to go to school where I wasn't sure how my next term's school fees was going to come from. Once the little money I had finished, what next? Mindset. When you discuss mindsets, Chinedu, there is what we call burning the boat. If you use a boat or a canoe to cross the river and you have a strong mindset of survival, you burn that boat because you don't want the boat. If the boat was still by the shore, you will be tempted, once you meet a slight challenge, to jump into that boat and return to where you come from. So in mindset, we talk about burning the boat. So you burn that boat so that whatever you see, you see. So I had resigned. I had no job in Nigeria. And I took my little savings and traveled to the US to study at Howard University to do my master's. But, you know, that is why people who succeed will always see the glass half full and not half empty. You have to have a certain positive thinking. You have to have a sense of being able to conquer, a sense that you can surmount challenges when they confront you, a sense that, listen, if people go there and succeed, I will too. When I got to the US, the people I met in the US, because like I told you, this was rare. The Nsuka people that were in the US were primarily sponsored. They came on scholarship, government sent them. Some may have decided, they were not many, let's be honest. You're talking about January 1983. You know, but I had my strategy. I did well in school. And when my money was exhausting, I wrote to the university and said, if they don't give me scholarship, they should find me a ticket to go home. It was a subtle threat. It wasn't really a threat. It was a way of dramatizing my situation. But I had done so well that I gained teaching assistantship. And believe it or not, the Chinedu, I never paid a penny again till I finished my PhD in 1988 in a record time of 5 years. Again, I was conscientious, I was studious, I was still playing like every other young man, but I didn't joke with my books. And quite frankly, my classmates, the earliest person that graduated after me in 1988 may have been 1992, 4 years after me. And I wasn't, in terms of wealth and whatever they had, I wasn't anywhere close by. But I had a mission, and that's so you can see that my trying to tell my story is already telling the story of a risk taker, of one who was ready to confront challenges. And it didn't even end there. I finished in 1988. Before 1988, I had gotten into the World Bank. I was working in research, doing research on Africa and so on. But it wasn't a permanent long-term job. So my contract was being renewed here and there. So I started looking for, okay, let me go and teach. I got a teaching appointment in New Jersey, in a university. I will remember the name, in a state university in New Jersey. I went for interview. I was recruited, but I was already used to the luxury of the World Bank. So when they showed me the office I was going to be sharing with another professor at the New Jersey, I was turned off. Again, I was not permanent at the World Bank as such. I was on contract. And here was a tenured position that could keep me for life. I rejected that offer and preferred to stay at the bank. So mindset again, that certain things are not good enough for you. It doesn't matter because you see, Chinedu, we are already deep into this conversation. I hope you know. Because sometimes what is holding our people back is, let me hold the little I have. Oh, Let me hold the one that is permanent to the one that is temporary. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. And you stay at a very, if an economist would say, a low level equilibrium. You attain an equilibrium, but it's even a trap. It is low level. You are not moving. You are not achieving, but you're comfortable with the little you have. So I didn't take the job in New Jersey, which was reasonably paying at that time, but it wasn't even the pay, it was the environment I didn't like. And thank God I didn't take that job because soon after, the Canadians came knocking and I was recruited by the Canadians. I went to Canada and they sent me to Nairobi. Listen to this again, Chinedu. When I was leaving the US in 1991, I only had a 3-year contract to go to Nairobi. Again, my friends in the US was like, why will you leave the US for a 3-year contract? Guess what? I spent 14 years in Nairobi. I was the one who left Nairobi on my own, even though the initial contract said 3 years. I left the institution, joined another. Um, the International Development Research Center of Canada that recruited me and helped in creating an African Technology Policy Studies Network, an international institution that I helped create, which is still running today. I became the first CEO, reporting to an international board. So all this journey is explaining a person who is saying, I can do better. I'm willing to take the risk. I know these risks are manageable. Whatever happens, happens. And you work hard and you get onto it. So, Chinedu, there I was until Obasanjo now invited me to be Chief Economic Advisor. Under Obasanjo, Chief Economic Advisor was also acting as a Minister of Planning. That's why we were members of the Federal House at that time. So, it's what led to where I am. And that mindset didn't stop. I took a leave to serve Obasanjo. And then I tried to run for governorship of Enugu, if people may remember, in 2007.
Sure, sure. Very
Because
well.
I also resigned that position. Again, people thought I was crazy. How can you resign that certainties job that was there? I resigned. I said, if God gave me all these skills and knowledge, why can't I deploy it to the service of my people? I resigned and ran and didn't make it because as you guys know, is not the system is not fair. And I had my job in Kenya. I could have run back because I was on leave. I went back to Kenya and told them, I'm done. I'm going back to Nigeria without even knowing what else to do. It was after I came back from going up and down in Nairobi that I started my consultancy, which is really what helped me do a lot of things. And then, of course, I joined the University of Nigeria in 2009. So these things have a way of explaining the mindset. And I hope, Chinedu, this journey that I've taken you through and the audience, those who are listening, can illustrate how success is driven by how someone thinks. Mindset is a mental attitude, mental attitude. And it shapes our outlook in life. It shapes our risk appetite, whether it is high or low, and how we deal with challenges, and shapes our feelings, beliefs, and values. So you can see in the course of this conversation that this is what has shaped me to where I am. And the reason why I can speak like this is that I think, one can say with a every sense of modesty that God has blessed one and one has achieved in many ways. So that mindset that I had, and I'll give other examples as the conversation goes on.
Wow. Hey, wow.
Yeah.
Hey, my people are thrilled. If you see the engagement from the comment section, you will know that my people are thrilled. So, yes, I am so proud of you, Prof. Not because, just like you said, you are the smartest among your colleagues, but because of your mindset, because of your positive disposition to conquer, you know. So, and you never saw obstacles, you saw stepping stones. And that's why you navigated your way to where you are today. So we appreciate that. People have seen it's good to discuss naturally. Whenever I encounter people here, I start by asking them, what is the story that led to your glory? But because you're a professional, you know pedagogy in teaching, you're a professional. So it's less for me to come with that question because by way of introduction, you have already touched what will bring about that question. So if I ask that question again now, it means that I did not understand what you said,
Correct. Correct.
but I did, and my audience and our audience did. So the only thing I want us to deal with now is for you to talk on mindset because even yesterday I had somebody who had been published on Forbes magazine. Black Mentor is a known person who came mindset coach in US. He was speaking to us yesterday. He mentioned mindset. So, but there are things that make up this mindset. Just like you said, there are preparations, there are dispositions. Because you can't just you can't come from nowhere. You can't take decisions from nowhere. There was a time you said you left to go there, but you have saved some money. You went to the embassy because you have saved some money.
Mm.
There were preparations. And for these preparations to take place and manifest itself, there will be there will be, let me say, discipline. So these things that condition this kind of disposition that can make one have this mindset to project himself to another level is what I would want you to bring forth for us.
Chinedu, let's not mix two things. One, the mindset that is a mental attitude has nothing to do with the money, even though you need something to back it up. First, you have to think that can I actually travel abroad without even money? Can I risk going to America with little change? What happens next? I used to say that, and I gave this lecture a couple of months ago at Nsuka, and I said, can you imagine perhaps a brother from Anambra approaching an uncle and saying, I need you to give me a ticket to go to Germany? That's all he has asked his uncle. Compare that with somebody maybe from my place who comes to me and says, yeah, I'm thinking of going to Germany, but I need you to take me there. I hope you know somebody that I can stay with. And now, adding other burden. The other one says, just give me a ticket. Another one says, if I get there, I hope there will be somebody to pick me from the airport and then where I'm going to stay, and so on and so forth. And I said that even when you want to get a job for somebody in Abuja, somebody might ask you, where will I stay if I come to Abuja? So it is a mindset thing that you are willing to take the risk. Yes, taking the risk presupposes that one, there is a certain discipline. That's why I talked about burning the boat. That because if you have one leg out and one leg in, you are likely to run back. At that lecture in Osaka, I gave this example. I said, I have always been concerned about our people. When I see the Super Eagles playing, I'm always looking to find out how many of our people, soccer people, are there. Why are we not there? I look at the arts, the music, and I'm searching. So while I was abroad, I came home one day and I was expressing this concern. And somebody said, "Oh, there's a guy who plays, he's a very good footballer. But you know, because there's always an excuse. We don't have person, we don't have people who can link us. We don't have this, we don't have that." Someone with a positive mental attitude, someone with a bit of emotional intelligence can create relationships where there are none. So they now brought someone, the same guy they said, "Oh, he was a very good soccer player." And I invited him to my house. And I was living abroad, but I had a house in the soccer. And I said, "My friend, I want to know your challenges. Why are you not playing professional soccer?" They said, "You're a very good player." And his answer was so nonsensical. He said, "I Kiamechete master's degree." I said, "Excuse me, you're a soccer player. And what is important to you is to finish a master's degree." I said, "This is the most foolish answer I've ever heard." I said, "Do you know that Okocha can employ 4 professors to teach him? Are you aware? And soccer is age bad." So I said, "What are you doing with master's degree? If you're such talent in soccer." He said, "Yeah, I went to Cameroon to try, and they told me, why is it that I don't have a local base?" I said, that question is legitimate. You don't do international when you don't have a local base. So nobody has seen you in Nigeria to recruit you. So you see what I'm talking about mindset? In his mind, he's already thinking he won't succeed in soccer. Therefore, he needs a master's degree as security. No! Playing soccer is a scarce talent. Anytime God gives you a scarce talent, that's the one you maximize. That's the one you build upon. That's the one you exploit. So we must teach our people. It's just like what I even tell professors in the university. Who told you you must retire in the university as a professor? Who said so? There are professors who are PAMSECs in the federal government. There are professors who are DGs in parastatals. But once you get become a lecturer in the university, all your life is now university based. Of course not. It shouldn't be. It is mindset. So you have to have the discipline. You have to prepare to succeed. You have to have this knack for hard work. Success doesn't come easy, but you first create these things in your mind. And one other thing, Chinedu, you know, there's a statement that people also make sometimes. A very terrible statement. It is called emotional intelligence. It's even called social intelligence. Creating and building relationships. How did Obasanjo know me? Because I was very close and I had a good friend called Chukuma Soludo, who, of course, during our interaction knew I had certain capacities and capabilities. And so when they were looking, he said, "Oh, I have a friend who is in Kenya. If you don't mind, you can meet him and interview him and see whether he meets what the requirements are." So you need to build relationships and sustain those relationships. It is not, I went to his house today. He didn't come down from upstairs. I stayed for more than 30 minutes. Therefore, I get upset and I leave. Oh, God. It's not like that. Perseverance is part of that emotional intelligence. Even at my level, I can call somebody 10 times, he has not replied, and I will still call because I need something. At my own level. How about you? You made one phone call. Oh, if you do call I'm Merubosha. I mean, please, call again. Chinedu, over to you.
Oh, yeah, Prof. Thank you for this. Thank you for this mind-blowing exposition. Because we really need to know all this because sometimes we act out of faculty. A lot of us at this Gen Z, let's say this Gen Z age, we
Mm,
act without backup. So we call it motivational motivational attitude without backup, without preparation to take such decisions. So it's okay, but typically let us bring this thing down. We are soccer people, and we are known to be very nice people. If people become sincere to themselves, they know soccer people are very sincere. Sincere people are accountable. But just that in our mindset, we have the disposition of mogbe narị n'ụkwụ họ. Mogbe narị n'ụkwụ họ. So gbakwanụ ya. Ihe kpọrọ uchu nwe mee ha. Ihe ya wishi were okwu. These are adages and proverbs that encapsulate the kind of mindset our people have. And generation to generation, these have been sacramentalized indelibly in our psychosomatic structures and
mm.
conditions our mindset. Sir, as an Nsukka man, what can you say about this cultural and traditional influence to our mental conception of things? And how can we come out of it?
Okay. Somebody said that the reason why God was able to create the entire world in 7 days was because he wasn't so concerned about what we economists and social scientists would call initial conditions. Did you hear me very well? Initial conditions. If he was what? Because there was nothing. And yet he created the entire world in 7 days. But the other day I gathered the people that by the grace of God I helped to train. They are from all parts of Nsukka. And there are lawyers among them. There are even lecturers among them now. There are all kinds of people among them. And I was trying to tell them that they may have been children of poor people, but they themselves are no longer poor and should not act as such. This is the problem. I spoke about this Nwegbe Narị Na-Eshuho in Nsukka a few months ago. I said it's a terrible statement because I gave this example. I said, I have a professor from our place and the wife, a lecturer, came to my house and their son was going abroad and they came to thank me because I pushed that son should go and do masters abroad. And the mother of this child said, my only problem with my son is that he likes to follow the children of big people. I was shocked. A professor, wife, lecturer, you are not big people. I said, Madam, you can stay in your poverty. You see this, your boy. He is not going to follow them. He is going to lead them. I say, young man, if you go lead the children of the big, you are a son of a big man and big woman. If they want to stay in their poverty, that's their own. So there is a certain constraint that we impose on ourselves. And in those days, I said, okay, Bob also. No. When I went to the US, these are things I didn't even put as part of my journey. We had a group, predominantly children of very rich Anambra people. And I was exercising leadership and they couldn't understand what this is doing. I couldn't care less. So I stood my ground. I made my points. I was respected. So we have very intelligent people, Nebine. We need, that's why when I was running for governorship, I wrote a program which I called Finishing School. And one day, a professor from Anambra saw me with this program and said, my goodness, why is this not being implemented? Finishing School. So he took me to the then governor of Imo State, or Hakim. When we explained the thing to Hakim, or Hakim brought money, what was it? I recruited through a competitive process 100 Imo people, graduates who had no job. My duty was now to finish them and prepare them for job market. It was a program I had written for our people. Finishing School. I taught them how to speak, how to walk, take steps, how to dress, how to confidence. I taught them curiosity and inquiry. In other words, when you see something you don't know, investigate it. I impromptu speaking. There is nothing that we didn't have in that program. It was residential. We camped them. I changed their mode of thinking. Talking about mindset. I said, you can't finish this program and you will eat banana and throw the pail on the street. It's not possible. You can't finish that program and you drink pure water and you throw it for who to pick. I will go to a meeting, Chinedu, and I'll eat anyara, and the head of anyara is, I'm putting it in my pocket, and somebody is saying, ndo yibo, ndo yibo. That is who I am. That's what we ought to be. So there are issues around culture, but culture evolves. We don't want the young ones to be inhibited by who their parents were. They should also seek for mentorship, meaning approaching people, relating with people, coming, everything is not money. People who know me know that if you come around me and I spend 1 hour with you, just the way I teach in my class, I said, I don't go to class so that you can memorize and reproduce. When I come to a class, I must put something down that you will remember and perpetuate. You don't need to memorize it. So we need a crop of young people that are bold, fearless, but they must have knowledge, they must have perseverance, they must be willing to work hard, they must be willing. If I tell you how many people I have influenced to go abroad for PhD or so on, I used to tell people who are first class, I say, why, if you have a first class, why are you studying at home? There was one, he made a first class in mathematics, and I said, no, you can't study here. I said, if it is money to take GRE, please come to me. To cut the story short, he traveled to the US, he got scholarship, he has finished his PhD, he's teaching in the US, his wife has even finished PhD now, and so on and so forth. Because I want the young ones to do better than us. If God has endowed you with first class, let's see how we can make you not a local champion, but a global champion. If I could do this in the 70s, why can't you do it now? You have to have a certain... There are people who come to me and say, I want to teach at UNN. I say, no. You can't teach at UNN. They are, very brilliant person. I say, I'm going to take you to a university far away from UNN. Experience other culture, build other relationships. This is how I think our people need also to begin to garner experiences and build further relationships. So you need to prepare, but first is your mind. That, Oburo, if you're a child of a poor person, therefore you are poor. No. If we have equipped you with a degree, okay, go and fight. Go and do what others are doing now. Fight. If you go for youth service in Uyo, why do you need to run back? Is there any job waiting for you in Enugu? Create something. So, but it requires that one has a sense of self-belief. That's part of that emotional intelligence. I was telling them at the lecture a couple of months ago, if you go and read about emotional intelligence, you realize that, there is IQ, but there is EQ. IQ measures your intelligence quotient. The EQ measures your emotional quotient. People with very high IQ but very low EQ, they are not successful. So you can make first class, but you can't be successful in life. Because you may have a sense of entitlement. Don't they know that I have first class? They don't know. And they don't care to know. So life is like that. So you find average people being successful because they have very high EQ, high emotional quotient, high social intelligence. And that is what you need to succeed in life. Chinedu, are you still there?
I'm there, sir. I am there with you.
Okay.
Very well, sir.
Okay, very well. I don't want to go on and on and on. I think I need you to interrupt me so that
Yeah. So I just want to make sure that I will not be interjecting when I should not. Okay.
So to answer your question directly, culture can inhibit curiosity because you've been told limit your ambition. Do you understand what I mean? Limit your ambition. Today, an Nsuka boy, by the way, is the vice president of the African Development Bank. And guess what? He made first class at UNN. And when I met him, I said, "Oh, you're doing your PhD at UNN. You want to be a local champion. Come on, get out of here." He thought he was going to impress me. And I was living abroad at that time. And guess what? That conversation led him to Cambridge, where he now did his PhD. Today, he is the vice president of African Development Bank. Take it or leave it. When I left the institution that I created in Nairobi, he took over from me. And now he's at ADB. We can't hear you.
Yeah, Prof.
Okay.
Thank you for this idea of the finishing school. So this finishing school, that even though you did not become the governor, you are still an elite and a stakeholder in Enugu. So how are you making sure that maybe I know when it is long, we have had several governors after your ambition as governor, and some other governors came, even a governor from Soka Extraction came. How have you been? What was your effort to make sure, even though you are the initiator of this, it came from you, it's your brainchild, but can't you give it over? Can't you hand it over to all those our governors to be able to implement it? So since it is good, it's something good for our people.
No, it's not a matter of handing over. While I was doing it in Imo State, in Owerri, I spent 7 weeks in Owerri. These people were trained for 5 weeks. The day we were graduating, the governor was crying. He saw the transformation and was basically saying, "Oh, shouldn't we build a permanent school for this?" They even changed one institution they had and added finishing school to that institution. But if you're not the originator of an idea, the thing easily fizzles out. And I suspect that people may have said, Osita Ogbu is from Enugu State, we can do these things and so on. But To answer your question more directly, at that time, Sullivan was governor, and we approached him. Others approached him, those who knew about this, who came to give lecture from Enugu, said, this is a wonderful thing happening. He said, oh yeah, we will do, we'll try. It never happened. So what I've been doing is to do bits and bits of it. Each time the youths gather, each time I'm able to gather the youths, for me, it is something extremely important. Can I tell you something? There is a concept called Omeriho Mere. I want to destroy that concept. Iyo mere apeka, iyo mere carrier. An unpolished shoe, I'm the same as a polished shoe. Sure. A clean shirt, I'm the same as an unclean shirt.
Sure.
And it has nothing to do with money. Ego level polish. Ego like a dust the shoe. But if he clean the bag, it doesn't really matter. It matters. Even the way you present matters. Let's be very clear about this. In my name, Coca-Cola. I nag, people nag. There's nothing they add to Coca-Cola. The formula is fixed. Ego lile din and spend the Coca-Cola on marketing to make you continuously drink it. Ongorozi, I didn't change the formula. Ongori hana itinyezi. It's like a human being. You need to package and market yourself. Ongorozi abia buwe gishimari ningwe go do first class. Oh, who go do first? It's okay. Onya weki batanedo. Ngwe jubazag marazi himar. So it's very important that we understand it. Nandi, I used to tell my students, in one share.
Yeah.
Hello. Chinedu, you want to interrupt?
Well, I said, yeah. I said, it's not we who go down first. No way you go where you see your mommy with first class.
Yes. These things are very important. And don't worry, had that mom. I tell people the two most important skills in life, Bo. I have listened to this person speak, or I have read what they have written. So speaking and writing, you can learn it. Continue to practice. So, and the same with packaging. Some of the people in our each and a from Ebeheshig is packaging. That's why I gave the example of Coca-Cola. Everything is about packaging. Emma, those of you who live in the US, like Chinedu, you know that even the Thai president, I choose nke ya match the occasion, even a gym address. To tell you how important the 9/11 crisis, the president had to dress in a certain way to address the nation. Everything is packaging. There is a lot of packaging of the presidency. It's like a human being said, So we need that kind of reorientation that says, don't assume because Nemo marry, therefore I will be successful. And that is why in the domain of emotional intelligence, social intelligence, you begin to understand why these issues about relationships, empathy, perseverance, understanding other people's emotion and understanding yourself, being even self-aware, having confidence. These things are very important. So that program card, and I'm willing to, give it out. I'm willing to engage in it without even being paid anything. I don't care. I am willing to use it. I'm willing. I think bits and bits of it will still. In fact, I remember that somebody like Professor Nebo wanted to make it a GS, and I think he tried to do it even in Oyo Kitty when he became vice chancellor there. But to make it a part of general studies. This idea of preparing people. A lot of graduates are graduating, but they are not employable. So the idea of a finishing school is to create that employability, the confidence. In fact, part of that finishing school was also mock interviews that we organized. Guy who has that question. You know, if I ask you to introduce yourself, I didn't tell you to tell me I'm a born again Christian. To introduce yourself. No. To tell me I come from a family of 30 people. My father was a polygamy. Not a polygamous person. No. You have to introduce yourself. In introducing yourself, you're already beginning to sell yourself. Chinedu, you saw how I introduced myself and took away the question you wanted to ask because I answered the question already.
Oh. Prof. Prof. You see, Prof, it is good to learn. Yesterday we had a mindset coach who is also an expert.
Yes.
Today again we have you. See, I now discover yesterday I'm not after I listened to the band, now that I'm listening to you. If you look at me, I've even forgotten that I am with you on this kind of show.
Yes.
So I feel like I'm in the class, man. I need to listen because some of these things has perpetuated our stay in stagnant. And we are thinking that it is only spirit there. It is this one that is holding us. It is Holy Ghost fire that we need to live. But some of these things we are unable to brand ourselves for global acceptability because we lack this patience. There's a question here, sir. Somebody is trying to say, somebody is saying here, let me put it. He said, Obonia Okoro from UK. Look at what he asked. He said, it's on the screen, sir. He said, please let Prof Osita repeat the assertion about success vis-a-vis IQ and EQ.
Okay. I was saying that many people with first class are not successful because they have high IQ, the intelligence quotient, but low EQ. You need a combination. You need significant emotional quotient to succeed. So if you have a first class high IQ, it actually means you have that capacity and ability to reproduce what the lecturer has taught you. But succeeding in life is now a different ballgame. And I said sometimes the high IQ person may say, don't they know that I have high IQ? And therefore is waiting for things to come to them. I gave an example at the lecture I gave at Nsukka. I said, a friend of mine invited me to his place because his cousin made a first class at UNN. And at that time, there was this policy that if you make first class, you'll be retained. So, and he wanted to know, since I'm a professor at UNN, what's the problem? So we agreed that we meet in his house. I went to his house. And first of all, I got to the house before this young man who made first class, which in itself shouldn't be. But when he came, he didn't basically greet me. It doesn't matter whether I'm the one who had come to be of help, but it struck me. And I told the uncle, I said, can you see, this is why the guy is not making any headway. He saw an elder seated and he went and sat down. I said, you can see, where is the emotional intelligence? So I'm not saying all of them, because there are, people who combine both. So the idea of emotional intelligence is different from that capacity, ability to memorize, to capture what the lecturer has taught and reproduce. This one is perseverance, self-motivation? Can you willingness to take certain risks? Can you fail and rise? You know, those are the things. So when you don't see failure as an end, but there are lessons in that failure, you know. So are you a realistic optimist? You know, one who believes things will change? Are you one who will just make one phone call and said, I tried? I said, no, it's not enough. In fact, if you want to reach me, you can't reach me. Reach somebody who can reach me. Or reach somebody who can reach somebody who can reach me. That is the perseverance we're talking about. But you're already saying, I tried. It's not enough. So, those who succeed are basically even agent provocateurs. They create opportunities from nothing. They always believe there is something better than what I'm doing. I am teaching all our young people. And that's why being in government is very important, because if you're in government, you can institute a program that begins to transform this mindset. It's not something you do just one day, you know, that you have to hammer on this over and over till it can become part of our psyche, a new way of thinking. That, and we're not asking people to abandon our integrity that we're known for, honesty. You remember, in all these things I said, I never talked about dishonesty. I talked about hard work. I talked about perseverance. I talk about willingness to take risks. I talk about being bold and confident. We must remain honest. We must remain people of integrity. But we should know that it's not a bad word. Onye nwere enyi ukwu bụ ọ gụchara first degree ọsọ ka ya gụma masters, ọ gụchara masters ọsọ ka ya gaa PhD, mana ọ bụ enyi ukwu. Onye nọkọta Naijiria ọsọ na ya eje Amerịka, mana ọ bụ enyi ukwu. Iji ahụ m ụdị ụlọ m rụrụ na village, mana onye nwere enyi ukwu na-arụ ụdị ụlọ ahụ. That's ambition. Enyi ukwu is not enyi ukwu is enyi ukwu. Enyi ukwu is okay, provided it's not driven by ill motive or by dishonesty. So, you know, try to be better and bigger than your parents. What is wrong with that?
Wow, Prof. Yes, Prof. The person we listened to yesterday, he talked about this mindset and talked about how this mindset can be built. He used two words: consistency and persistence.
Have I not used those words now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to concur what you say. Yeah. Persistency and consistency. Yeah. So what we are saying now is our people sometimes, when some of these tenets that is capable of reforming our behavior for us to be acceptable and to be successful are given to us, some people abandon them because of inconsistency. So it is not even that people are not there trying to bring those values, but our attitude towards learning and what we have learned, you understand, is part of what becomes us. So that is why it is good that it becomes part of government policy. Like this thing you're saying, if it is part of government policy, that's why you said it would be good for somebody to be in government to enact it as part of government policy.
No, it's not to enact it as part of government policy. It is to encourage this training and reorientation. if it means having a small school on the side because you understand that this is necessary. For instance, one of the things I was suggesting even to government in those days is, let's pick our bright lawyers from Obani and Soka. Government will pay and put them in Lagos with the SANS. That exposure, that training, is enough to unleash a lot. The reason why some of us do the things we do is that abroad, but we now know how a good library looks like. We had opportunity to read broadly because books are available. But more importantly, we interacted with society. As no ije ka onye isi ewo akụkọ. Is that not true? And when you travel, that's why onye m zụrụ na economics na Nsukka onye ọbụkwa. Onwe 21 nsa thank you sir. But na ebi yeje me masters bụ n'Ibadan. Osuma ego nsa I will pay. But you are not going to do the masters in Nsukka again. Even though I'm in Nsukka, but I wanted a different exposure, a different orientation, a different school of thought. So that's the point I'm making. Oburo and all the Kemna got some lecturers from UNN say, Okunumane, you can go to another university to do a PhD, and the university will still maintain your salary because you'll be on leave with pay. Why are you still not exploring that option? So, this na for as if there is anything magical about it. So, it's not necessary that they enact it as a policy. It is to understand that we need this and therefore create a quasi, not a formal institution, but one that can continuously retrain, whether from high school or from Ndijeru University, and begin to reorient them to build a different set of thinking,
Okay, Prof, I have this question from one of our. It says, how is Prof managing the challenge associated with advocating the mission ideology in a country like Nigeria?
No, this is not, we're not discussing Nigeria here. We're not discussing about our people. But, like I said, can you imagine that it was Imo State that bought into it in the first instance? So a world challenge, the thing is, I used to do a lot of training as part of my consultancy. And part of that training involves even, I trained the entire central bank at one time on critical thinking. I trained some banks on issues around values, character, and work ethics. I still do that from time to time. Even I about the age, I had the many things like I married before. But I am still willing, and part of the training I was doing with the current SSG. I would drag him along. I say, come, because he has ideas too. And so it is still something I'm thinking we can be doing on a small scale. I'm thinking once in a while, I will invite 10 people to spend a weekend with me, and we talk about these things, why they're important, and I give them some books to read, because you need to read. By the way, since I'm talking about reading, I put out a new book that was presented to the public in December 12th, I think, last year. It's on Amazon, called, the title is Development as Attitude. So I have even taken this attitude thing to a macro level across all sectors in Nigeria is a book there accessible. Development as Attitude is sold. Is some of it. Some it was published in London as well as in Nigeria, so it's available in Amazon. So you get to see how leadership philosophies have shaped nations. You know, the attitude of leaders, the mindset they had, the entrepreneurial zeal, that willingness to see tomorrow before they see. You know, nations, and I give examples from across the continent, across the globe, on what these early leaders of these nations did to develop their countries. So it's been my preoccupation for some time.
Hey, finishing school.
Mm,
You know, some of us, we never knew there was a thing like this, because
yes.
this is the kind of things, if it is established, no matter how small it is, it will be producing men, men, reasonable men, branded, branded men for
Mm-hmm.
exploits in the society.
Mm,
So, Oga, we'll continue to encourage you, please.
mm,
Don't despair, don't give up. Uh, Continue to let people know, and we'll also continue to advocate from here, because sometimes people will come and tell us, how can we empower our people? Some people are thinking that empowerment is money.
no.
Some people are thinking that empowerment is money. It's not money. Just like we are teaching, what you are teaching about exposure and people going out. One of the ways one can break his circle into a circle of success is by association or by investment.
Mm,
By association, the kind of people you interact with, it has a lot to do about you. Like those, if you are a lawyer, I remember I went to St. Teresa's College. I went to Central School in Rulo. I went to St. Teresa's College in Suka. And my father told me also that he wants me to go to UNN. You know, people like UNN because UNN is recognized
Chinedu, when did you go to St. Teresa's?
1994, yesterday. I passed out 1994.
Oh my goodness. You know, I went to St. Teresa's.
Oh, so you are born in Nigeria, sir.
Oh, are you kidding me? But you can imagine that when I went there, you were not born. I went to St. Teresa's in 1971.
I was not born. I was not born. Yeah, Prof. Honorable Gara Harrison is
Mm,
telling you, Honorable
mhm,
Gara Harrison, Gloria
mm,
Ugoke, Ishingu Enter, Onyeka
mm,
Chokwe, um, um, a lot of them, Gracious Grace, Jonathan Emmanuel Ikechukwu, a lot and a lot of our people, Ogbona Okolo from UK,
mm,
and others, Ijoma Okoyemeka, there are many telling you thank you and welcome, and for finding time to let us know about all this. We are so,
mm,
so happy. Um, Prof, I want to, you know that it's not easy to get to. Now
mm.
that we have you, let us just grab the much we can get and thank God for it. I know the prayers, how I offered prayers before. So even though this our audience will not know what it means to bring somebody like you here, if it is payment, we cannot pay. We cannot pay for this. So because of the love you have for our people, because of the love you have for the youths, the kind of positive disposition you have for us to grow, that is why you have decided, despite choking um, activities you have every time, you spread out your very, very resourceful weekend to be here with us. We appreciate you, sir. Those on Instagram, those on everybody, they are so happy with this particular mindset liberating account. So thank you, sir. What I want to say, sir, is that there is something going on Last time I listened to Dr. His Excellency Dr. Okesiezenwodo in a Arise TV, where he has gone to talk about Suka Indigene becoming the Vice Chancellor of the University of Nigeria.
Mm.
This mindset issue we are talking about, can we refer that this is part of what is denying the Suka man for 64 years now? He cannot access the office. And we have over 200 professors who are scattered everywhere, who we know they are intelligent, they are qualified. What do you say is the mindset, or is it other factors? From your own opinion.
It's a combination of factors. First of all, I hope you know that the 200 professors from Nsukka are not at UNN.
Sure.
The 200 professors of Nsukka are all over Nigeria. I hope you know. So we don't have that number. I remember that a couple of years ago, actually, not a couple now, because that vice chancellor has served and this one has finished serving. So it's almost 8 years ago. I won an election in the Senate of the University of Nigeria. You know, all professors are members of the Senate of the University. And that election, many of our people, they had actually met and said nobody should contest, but I didn't go to the meeting because they thought we didn't have the number to elect an Nsukka person. This election was to elect 2 professors from Senate to represent Senate in the panel that will now select a vice chancellor. But I don't often go to Senate meeting, unfortunately. I don't go every time. But this time I showed up. And as soon as they called for nomination, I was the first person to be nominated. And so it scattered the program that our people had already had. You know, they met and said, we will carry our vote and give someone else who is sympathetic because we don't have the vote. But cut the story short, I won the election because the appeal was beyond the zone. And people who campaigned for me later told me, because there was no campaign. It was impromptu. We just got to Senate, and the vice chancellor said, today we're electing somebody to represent us, 2 professors to represent us. And I was even being persuaded to decline the nomination because I might be humiliated. You see, that risk thing again comes up, mindset. I didn't want to decline. If I fail, let me fail. But I won. So to answer your question, there are a combination of factors. Factor 1 is maybe number. Factor 2 is also building alliances. I must confess, this is maybe the first time I'm saying this publicly, that when Batokolo was leaving, he made every effort to say that I am the one who should take over from him. He went around Nigeria telling everybody, he said, he made every effort. He came to my house, he talked to me. I said, no. I said, if I become the vice chancellor, who will be the governor? Because it was coinciding with when they had zoned the governorship to Nsukka. And I said, I have been interested in being governor since 2007. Now they have zoned it to our people. Am I not going to run away? I said, somebody else can be vice chancellor, but I want to be governor. Of course, I didn't become governor, but that was part of my consideration. I didn't want to. But so, the other point is, these things are not fought in the public arena. And even this question you're asking me should not be answered in the public arena. It's not a fight in the public. It is what we should be saying in public is that we have one of the best people that can occupy those positions. If we are asked to produce, we do have many eligible Nsukka people that can compete head-on with anyone else. But the other things that follow are not for public discussion. So it's not a television matter, it's not a meeting matter, it's not done that way. Let me put it this way. Chinedu, we can't hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
noted, sir. So what I'm saying is that why I said it is because maybe it's the way I said it. Because I said maybe it was the way I said it because what I intended saying was maybe it was I said it the wrong way. Why I was saying it is that because I know that there are many very qualified people who can contest, who can go out there head on, as you said, like somebody like you. What do we have in other professions that we don't have in you? So
No,
if
but
you
by
can,
the way, to answer that one directly, I'm no longer eligible by age. So a lot of people have approached me, talked to me, and I said, sorry, once you're over 65, because you must have 5 years. You know, we retire at 70.
yes.
So some people have approached me because of course, they didn't know my age. So, but once you're over 65, you're no longer eligible.
Oh, that's great. No problem. Thank you, sir. What again I want us to hear from you is the general advice as a punchline. The general advice you can give our people for success. No matter this issue, I wanted to ask you about this concept of Igba boy that is leaving our place. You know, Igba boy, some people understand it to mean relegating somebody to the stupor. But it was apprenticeship and training, just like you said. So people like you who valued it, who advocated for people to learn how to groom themselves, prepare themselves. Igbo people were smart enough to say, no one went up, one boy abroad. The people that were in boy those days now, they are the people controlling Alaba market. They are the people controlling Tojo market. They are the people controlling Mbuko today, and they are Nsukka people. But this generation we are now, they are indifferent from training. They are indifferent from Iba boy, and they are subscribing to Egombute and all these things. Please, sir, with your exposure and experience, what is your advice to our people as regards this attitude?
You know, during Nwodo's regime, Chief Nwodo, as Ohaneze president, he set up a 54-man committee of Igbo men, distinguished Igbo men and women. And we're talking about Igbo, meaning 7 states, not just 5 states, including Rivers and Delta. And we have membership of this 54-man committee from across the globe. The president of World Igbo Congress is a member. President of World Igbo Assembly is a member. President in Canada is a member. I mean, all over. And guess what? I am the chairman of that committee, 54-man committee. You know, so, and I'm from Nsukka. And to the glory of God, I think I've led them creditably. So the point to be made, coming to Igba boy, part of the thing, because our mandate was to see about rebuilding Igbo land economically. And part of the thing we said we were even going to look into is this Igba boy. You know, this Igba boy is now being studied at Harvard as one of the largest venture. I was teaching my students the other day, venture capitalists, venture capital, what it represents, and how the state itself can become a venture capital. But the idea that somebody takes someone, trains that somebody, gives them a seed capital to trade in the same line he himself is trading. In other words, creating your own competition without fear is something remarkable. And you know, Oga remains Oga. Oga is building networks, which in itself is capital. So network in itself is capital. So if you go to Newi now, you will see some of our boys. I hope you know that a lot of Enugu people are doing very well. On the Bacharo boy, but they had the tenacity, the understanding, the willingness to serve well, because some people are let go because of Igba boy ran into difficulty. And that's why we are thinking that we shall change what I may call the agency. Meaning, if given an opportunity, we will begin to rewrite the agreement. Or onye drew boy, gafu maka the boy. So if the boy is misbehaving, ndị ọzọ ga-ama na misbehave. If nne ya ukwu is misbehaving, ndị ọzọ ga-ama na nne ya ukwu na misbehave. So it won't come to the end, and the man will say, he stole my money, therefore I'm not going to give him the capital again. You know, these issues are there now that we need to look into to make sure that this thing doesn't die. And by the way, you know, you can go to school and still go and do bad boy. Maka ihe moga daba into it, you are likely to fail. So all the common people what are education abrosos on KJ in a formal school. You know, when I tell Nigerians that only maybe 30% of Americans go to university, only 30% of Americans have a university degree. 70 degree. They think only every American go to university. If you have good high school, just like Americans do, and you can pick up a book and read and understand, you're educated. You can check the statistics. So, into Akode, our people, the Igba boy has helped some of our people. It has also not helped some. You know why it has not helped some? Because I have personal experiences with people I try to help. Today, you're giving 1 million. Each and you have arrived. Thriftiness, I used to tell my relations in those days, hide yourself first. First. Before you expose yourself. 2 million account to give 1 million. Then you bring a big man. If there's a buy, go here. Before you know it, this person will crash. So, enwere trick in there, enwere this mindset in there, enwere values in there, enwere kwachilete godo onwogu ka ikwuru well before you can start. I used to tell my people, I said, God gave you 2 eyes. He will one eye where how you can upgrade yourself. With one eye, how you can help your family. You wear the 2 eyes, how to help with your family. You crash. So the Igba boy is important. It needs to be done properly. It needs to be redone, redesigned. Our people must understand that it is a way of getting capital to start business, but there is a lot of personal traits and akonuche that is involved. Is not all these concepts, they are not for nothing. When they say you suppose you want akonuche, knowledge and wisdom. Hard work is part of it. Kishi even serve mad. You see, this thing of impatience, this thing of uh, I don't want to say this, but one day somebody about the German Ambraka, I go do this funeral or something. Talking about perseverance. And say, watch what will happen. Them na ala no when you tigide egwu soro mu na eje 1 mile ebe park moto driver na echem. But no nwere ike ọ bụ na anyị nọ n'ụlọ onye ahụ je ime ọ bụ na inyere gị the money or withdraw. In other words, you don't see this perseverance that endures. I had a security man also na Baniamba that over here. Hi, Chineke. You know, my cousin Baniamba. These things are not why you abandon your work. So these are some of the things we need to reorient our people about. Making being successful. Even when I went to the US, there were times I was asking myself, I was chauffeur driven. You know, I told you I had a driver. But here I was, now Kuzuno, there and you live in the US, you know what I'm talking about. Because I went to America in January. Boss know when a driver used to report to carry me from my place. But these are the price I had to pay to be who I am. You broke a free ride, though. It's not. There were times you didn't have money as you were building up. You know, but Neymar, that what you're doing end game. You know, there are theories surrounding decisions that we make and the consequences arising from that decision and the theory thereof. So, in a me na guide lead to something so that you can explain these consequences when they arise, and you can even exploit them when they arise.
Wow. Hey, that is great, Prof.
Yeah, it's a listen over 1 hour there.
Thank you. So, thank you, Prof. We are going to. People are requesting that you come again. You have to.
I part two.
Thank you, sir, for granting that for me. So, Prof, before we draw the curtain for the day, I want you to say 1 or 2 statements to the people about what is your conception of Chinedu Anichi TV, this our Otobonso.
No, you see, Chinedu, thank you for, first of all, inviting me. Anytime you can create a medium through which we can share knowledge globally, you must be congratulated. You are doing something. In fact, it is also that same mindset that made you create this TV. A fearless, courageous mindset that says, if others are doing it, I can also do it. In spite of the challenges that you may have faced and the obstacles even in setting this thing up. So, Ima, there is a sense of determination which you have exhibited in setting up this. So, to create an Otobo where we can all enjoy and chat and exchange ideas and views, especially reinforcing views, views that enthrones. Even as a thought, thinking is not easy. But even if you want to think, you must think righteously. You must think actively. And so here we are thinking righteously, trying to uplift our people. So I want to congratulate you and thank you for the opportunity. And I, I hope that you grow from strength to strength.
Yeah. Thank you, Prof, for coming. I'm so grateful that you are here, and our people are so happy they have heard from you. Thank you, Prof, for your time. And I remain your boy, and we promise to keep doing what we are learning from people, because one of the major things that our people lack is what we call generational, intergenerational conversation.
Mm,
People don't want to learn from the elderly ones who have experienced. Na ya amụtachamara, na ya amụtachamara.
mm,
Ịghọtaghị? Amara epesi na ọ chịrị na Eshia, na ejiri ka ya bụ mama na-aka alụ. Then ọ chịrị na ya amụtachamara within few days. Riverara Eshia ya mụma oru nta bụ nta mụ yi mekiri. Eshia karịa ka ịkpacha yara ta na ya. Ọ chịrị ha epiripiri mụ yi bụrụ alụ alili ogote na kashi Eshia samba ahụ. Ya chịrị na ịmụtachamara ya. So that is what this generation lacks. Instead, we go to social media and learn things that they know the basis. But
yeah,
thank God, that this TV will continue to project positive ideologies. Will
correct.
continue to project things that are life-saving, innovative, and educative. And I will not delay from that promise. Thank you for coming. We are grateful, sir. God
Da,
bless you.
Ishike, Ishike.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mm.
Oh, thank you.
All right. And the audience too, we thank them.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you, my people. My name is Chinedu Anichi, your one and only celebrity here. So you know how today it has been. Well, yesterday it was the same thing. Today it was the same thing. Remember, tomorrow, 8 p.m. this Nigerian time, we have what we call hanging out with Ladies Hangout with Chinedu Anichi TV, where we are going to discuss a lot of things about family. So tomorrow we'll have ladies and we are bringing women of repute. About four of them will be live on the TV. We'll be discussing, and what we'll be discussing tomorrow is emotional, what they call it, emotional things like um emotional dispositions that can frustrate men or women in marriage. So, how people, you might not be physically toxic, but you can be emotionally toxic. So, how can somebody can put somebody into trouble in marriage and make the person very uncomfortable in marriage without even touching the person, without even beating the person, without all those things. So that's what we'll be discussing. Women of experiences in marriage, young people, professionals, lawyers will be assembling tomorrow to talk about this. You will see the flyer today of those who will be present in this thing. So 8 o'clock Nigerian time, 2 p.m. Central American time. Let us click in Chinedu Anichi TV. If you're on Facebook, Chinedu Anichi TV. On Instagram, Chinedu Anichi TV. Then on YouTube, Chinedu Anichi TV. So just click in 3 p.m. Central American time and 8 p.m. Nigerian time. It's going to be held. Remember, my people, I love you. And this continues to be Chinedu Anichi TV. And I am your one and only celebrity here. So, the African voice in diaspora. God bless you. Professor Ogbu was fantastic. Okay. Thanks for Prof. Thank you. And God continue to bless you.